discussion. So we're going to be sticking to those. And then Sundays are questions and comments from the fans. And yesterday we had a lot of brilliant minds because Dylan was in here in the comment section, Jesse was in here from the comment sections, and they clicked the mic, approved the camera, and they came on because we have a link in all of the comment sections. They came on in real time, and we were able to have very in-depth discussions about some of the topics that we had. I thought that was pretty nifty. It always encouraged, ladies, when we start having these topics, if y'all want to get in, y'all can click that mic, click the link, or click the link, approve the mic, approve the camera, and get in here as well, and put your sense in there because I mean, you know, we don't always think the same, and we can collaborate to bring a little bit more uniformity into the dynamic. But yeah, until we get there, we're gonna make it do what it do. Now we are live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. So while I always encourage you guys to like and subscribe, I also encourage you guys to take the time to go and hit that notification button because it will notify you when we go live, so that you have the capabilities to join us from Twitter and Twitch because we do have you guys watching us from Twitter and Twitch. We have comments over here on the 16 by 9. That's also over here when I address those comments. If you are watching from the 9 by 16 vertical form, you have the comment section that comes up here, and the ones that I'm addressing is up there at the top. The information that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen for the long form, 16 by 9, is the same information scrolling across the top on the 9 by 16. So you're not missing out on anything, but I've got two cameras running right now because I got you guys on this side with the 16 by 9 and over here with the 9 by 16. And I've got you guys streaming on Twitter and I got y'all streaming on Twitch. And after we finish owning TikTok, or at least 51% of TikTok, we will have TikTok thrown in here as well. So if you're watching from any of those channels, make sure that you give us a shout out. How you doing, Rachel? And we will be able to give you guys your 15 minutes of fame or 15 seconds of fame, depending on how you get in here. Um, it says Rachel Darty, 1209. How you doing, Rachel? Now, today we're going to be discussing because Thursday, Friday, and Saturday we really get into it. So we're going to be trying to navigate some relationship topics. We're going to double back on some that we've covered before, but we're going to cover from a different angle now. And we're going to be doing some personal developments on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So you're going to be seeing a lot of stuff coming up as we schedule the week. So hang out with us all week long. And when you see a topic that you want to jump in and voice your opinion on, dive in either in the comment section or click that link because we have that link in Twitter and Twitch as well. And if you don't see the link on Twitter or Twitch, just let me know and I'll put it back in there and you guys will see it again because Twitter and Twitch only shows the messages that were there before you got there or after you got there, and YouTube shows all the messages that existed before you got there. How you doing there, Quantum? Good to see you. Yes, Professor. Pretty much, pretty much, because I teach all subjects from third grade through like second year master's degree, and it is a lot of information to retain. I have to refresh myself on some things to try to figure it out to be able to explain to you so that you can know how to get it done. Since I am not a specialty of any one particular subject, but when we start thinking about what just happened over the past couple of months, on the surface, you know, it would look like two completely different stories because over here you have headlines about corporate layoffs and shaky job markets, and over there you would have the heated nonstop political debates about the immigration, right? And we were just talking about the immigration yesterday. uh, One seems to be about economics and the other about policies, right? But what if separating them means we're missing the real story? What if the neat little boxes that we put these issues into are actually preventing us from seeing the bigger picture? So today we're exploring how the combination of corporate cost cutting and deeply divided political landscapes is creating a new era of economic anxiety for almost everyone. What they aren't telling you is that these two trends will, while not coordinated as a plot, are creating a perfect storm for the American worker. Okay. It all felt like it came to a head in the fall of 2025 when all the riots and everything started out. And then October was a brutal month because companies announced plans to cut over 150,000 jobs when millions of Americans started getting laid off during the shutdown. And October for layoffs in more than 2 decades has experienced the most that we have ever seen because that's not just a number. It is 150,000 households facing a deeply uncertain future right before the holidays. And at the same time, the political rhetoric around immigration grew even more intense. And why do these two things play into one another? Well, most tech companies are acquiring foreign work, individuals that are supposed to be getting their citizenship here, and getting their visas through STEM visa applications. So a lot of these tech companies are negatively impacted by the change in immigration laws. At the same time, we're looking at, well, it's not just cheap labor because they get to America, they get paid American prices. But the fact is that if you hire, let's say you hired 5 grad students from Thailand, and then the law changed, and now you got to pay $100,000 per application to get those 5 people into America. That negatively impacted your ability to get good talent if you don't have it in your budget to pay $500,000 to bring 5 people to the country. So it's not necessarily cheap labor, but it is creating a climate of fear and anxiety in communities across the country. I mean, is it just a coincidence that these things were happening at the same time? Yeah, maybe. But when you start to look at the pressures on the American workforce from all sides, a disturbing picture emerges. It suggests that this isn't just an accident, but the result of powerful forces reshaping our economy and our society, just as we were talking about yesterday. Often for the benefit of a select few, there are situations where it will benefit the many. Now, to really get what's happening, you have to understand the sheer scale of the economic shift. And this isn't just a few companies trimming the fat. We're seeing a fundamental restructuring that's hitting the white collar professional class. This isn't the ditch diggers and the uh, plantation help. You know, these are Fortune 500 CEOs and computer tech, the anti hacking set, the cyber sector of the firm, the accountants, the scientists. These are not the people who snuck into the country from jumping the fence or crawling under a bush or riding in the trunk of a car. These are individuals who probably could have bought a first class ticket here and got in through the airport. And they're still um, the very people who are often told that their jobs are currently not safe when their jobs used to be safe. Yeah, to promote someone else's agenda. That's exactly what's going on. So let's look at the trends across the major industries that led the charge. First, you have the tech industry, giants like Amazon, which built empires on innovation and growth, have continued to conduct layoffs throughout 2025, not just in October. And the official reason is often a pivot towards new priorities, like artificial intelligence. Executives are openly saying that AI will continue to reshape their workforce for years to come. So think about that for a second. Either Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's a little bit more intense than that. You're thinking about the Oompa Loompas. Yeah, I know I couldn't spell that word neither. the Companies that once couldn't hire people fast enough are now designing a future where a significant portion of their human workforce might be seen as a liability because they're no longer turning profits off of them. The people who built the machine are now being told they might be replaced by that same machine, all in the name of efficiency. You built your replacement, but it's not just tech. It was just one of the first dominoes. Let's turn to retail. Big box stores like Target are staples of our American life. But as they face shifting consumers and their habits, the declining sales are starting to occur where their response is often streamline efforts. And that's corporate speak for cutting jobs. It's the kind of language that sounds logical, almost responsible, but what it really means is that instead of finding new ways to invest in their employees and innovate, the quickest path to a better balance sheet is often to just cut people loose. It's at $226.78 per share for Amazon. Buy 10 shares and hold them. Yeah, you can buy Amazon. Amazon is a good buy. Um, the issue that you're going to have with Amazon is that they're still fluctuating because of all the unions that are being formed, and now they're doing cuts. Well, they were going to do cuts because I mean, Digitech is building machines to replace the warehouse workers. So as they replace the warehouse workers in Amazon, they're going to be firing those workers on and off the union. And since certain Amazons have become unionized, it's going to be hard for you to get into the job if you're not part of the union. They may even put it on a damn application. Are you a part of whatever the name of the union is? Right? CVS will close. CVS and Rite Aid, they lucky to still be open. Um, this reflects a difficult trend for corporate America because the jobs that a college degree used to secure analysts, managers, marketers are no longer safe. Everybody's job is at risk. The unspoken message is that loyalty is a one-way street. You're loyal to your company, but your company is loyal to the profits. You give a company your career, and when the numbers dip, you become a line item on a spreadsheet. And the pain has also been felt in the American industrial heartland. Take the auto industry, for example. Companies like General Motors have been navigating a very bumpy transition to electric cars. And for years, we've heard that EVs would create a new generation of high paying American jobs. But when market demands fluctuates or is slower than predicted, what happens? The response is often to scale back production and lay off the very workers who were supposed to be building that green future. It's a painful reminder of how fragile this transition can be because a single corporate decision to adjust production can create a ripple effect, hurting suppliers and devastating the local economy. Now, the promise of a green industrial revolution starts to feel pretty hollow. And when the companies leading it are so quick to hit the brakes on their workforce, it is hard for the workforce to maintain and recover. Michael says it's not Amazon itself, it's the servers that Amazon is building. Technically, Jeff Bezos, Jeff Bezos is building the machines in the warehouse. Then Jeff Bezos got control over Amazon. So when Jeff Bezos takes the machines from Digitech and put them into the warehouse, it's going to be tackling the warehouse district. However, the layoffs that just occurred in October was related to tech and the maintenance of the servers, anti-hacking employees and stuff to that effect. So they create an algorithm that does it for them. That's what we're talking about. It says everybody represents a dollar sign, a negative dollar sign. Love electric cars. In 10 years, every car will need new batteries. That's the one thing I don't like about electric cars. In 2 years, he's saying 10 years. It might be 2 to 3 years, depending on how many miles you put on it. Because they grant you like 100,000 miles or 250,000 miles for 10 years or 15 years, depending on the dealership. And the battery's like $10,000, $15,000. So you pass up on getting a brand new Nissan Versa base model so that you can buy a battery for a Tesla. And they're only going to cover the first battery under the insurance within the time limit because after you cross over a certain mileage or you cross over a certain number of years, you can't get that free battery. And before the battery goes out, you've got to trade it in because if the battery goes out before you trade it in, the car is worthless. Yeah, that part. Now, finally, you have the world of media and entertainment because companies like Paramount Global are facing crisis as well. I was talking to you guys about Paramount. Paramount's one of the stocks that we're following right now. And box office revenues are unpredictable, and viewers continue to leave traditional TV in droves, heading over to Netflix online, Pandora, YouTube, dropping into this podcast, spamming me. In this environment, they're looking for huge cost savings, and their go to solution has been, at least once before, a, uh, mass terminations. That's what we'd be looking at mass termination. Now, these cuts often sweep across the entire organization, not just one specific unit, from the corporate office to streaming and production divisions. The industry is struggling to compete in the expensive streaming wars, yet its primary survival strategy seems to be getting smaller and shedding the very talent that creates the content itself. But tonight's show is not about who gets laid off, it's about who they are silencing on the way out. Corporations use a perfect playbook of secretive tactics to control the narrative. We're going to get into those. He said, "What's the TV? How you doing?" And Torrey Step and Tori Stephens. Is that supposed to be Anthony Stephens? Okay, a Tori. Hopefully your day's going well. Whew. I gotta tell you, I had a burnt out day today. I didn't have an opportunity to make me some coffee. Putting in overtime today. I had back to back clients since 3 o'clock this afternoon. Whew. Now, many severance agreements come with non disclosure and non disparagement clauses, essentially, gauge your uh, other individuals that uh, are forbidden employees from speaking negatively about the company. And a lot of jobs have this thing, this non-disclosure thing, where if you badmouth the job in front of the customers, that they'll fire you on that principle alone, not based on like you stealing out of the safe or something to that effect. Yeah, the severance pay becomes leverage with these companies, a bargaining chip to coerce silence from people who desperately need that money. And that's going to be one of the issues that we have with living from paycheck to paycheck. Beyond the legal papers, there's an upspoken threat that the father of the leading blacksmith, uh, the fear of being blacklisted after getting fired is the issue. I'm sorry, I dozed off in the middle of talking for a moment there. Let me get me some sugar in my system. Massively long day. I should have brewed a cup of coffee. I wonder if I still have a cup of coffee here from. Nope, not even a swallow. He said it was a great day. My neighbor's home is going into foreclosure. You know, that's a good thing because now you don't have noisy, annoying neighbors. Now that's a bad thing because your neighbor's home going into foreclosure, once it gets sold under value, it depreciates your property value because the value of your home is based off of the value of the five houses similar to your house that was sold within the last 30 to 90 days. So if everybody's house is sold at 25% of its value, the value of your house goes down. Unless, of course, you pay extra money for an appraisal for them to take details about the quantity of equity that you have invested into your house with remodeling and improvements, where that then goes into public record for the government to be able to determine based on its current value the taxation of your property, which means you pay more taxes on it. Me myself, I'm rooting for devaluation as far as homestead because I don't want to pay extra money on taxes, but I am also rooting for inflated costs for anything I plan on selling or leveraging to get capital to invest in something else because the more it's worth, the more I can get off of it and still put somebody else in the property to rent it out so that I don't have to pay for the rent. I don't have to pay for the loan. I could rent it out dirt cheap, where I could take $100 a month, set it aside for repairs. I could take $100 a month, and put it in my pocket as a profit, and I can take the other $700 a month or $800 a month, put it towards the loan, and the entire $900 to $1,000 a month that I got from the tenant would be covered under the blanket of the loan because I'd be getting back less money than what I owe, and I would be putting the money that I owe towards that bill. Tax blankets. He said, thanks God it's Friday. Shit, my week gets longer on Friday. It is not Friday night, boy. It is Monday night. What do you mean? It is Monday night. No country in the world is on Friday right now. Some people are on Tuesday and some are on Sunday, but nobody is on Friday right now. Are you gonna buy your neighbor's house, buy it, and gut all of the valuables out of it? Now, laid off workers worry that speaking out when they're about to get fired will label them as a troublemaker, damaging their future job perspectives and leading to self censorship. Because when you're on your way out the door, one of the worst things in the world that happens is that you tell your next employer who your last employer was, and they contact your last employer and ask them, were you a good worker? Well, if you piss them off, they will say, no, you're a horrible worker, even though the company relied on you for the last 3 years to keep their numbers up. But because you guys parted ways on a negative level, they are not interested in how good you were. They are interested in how well you follow instructions. And if the boss says you ain't worth hiring, the new guy is going to say, I'm sorry, we don't have a place for you. This creates a culture of praising the company in public while protesting in private. Companies also strategically isolate employees during the layoff process to prevent them from organizing or sharing information. So when they call you into the boss's office to have a talk with you, they're separating you from the group to do you dirty so that you don't establish a census with the rest of the room as to how dirty they're doing you. Now, they do pull you into the office to reprimand you for inappropriate behavior. They do pull you into the office to notify you of raises and improvements to your positions and stuff to that effect in private, because your pay scale is your private knowledge and it's not supposed to be shared with anybody else. But if they're paying one person more than they're paying another person, and those two people work the same quantity of effort, they will not know unless they talk about their salaries with one another, and the job shows favoritism behind the scenes by making it mandatory that you don't share knowledge about your personal salaries with your colleagues. Yeah, yeah. So you wouldn't be able to know that a wage gap exists unless you were telling everybody how much you make. He said, "He your problem now." He was the best worker I had. You're being fired. Well, I mean, I could see something like that going down. I mean, I know that I had some people that worked for me, and I gave them the best review that I could give them to get rid of them. I was like, yeah, he's my ace in the hole. And they're like, well, why is he leaving? He had some personal issues and he needed to go and take care of them. And I mean, I would have hired him back, but he's not in my area anymore. So, you should grab him. He's a catch. I'm gonna promote him all the way through. I'm gonna promote it like adult interaction with no protection towards STDs. And then when you catch those STDs, I'm gonna be like, hey, it's not my problem. Now, all of this is designed to diffuse anger and shift blame onto remaining teams or internal inefficiencies and protect the corporate reputation at the same time, ensuring the stories of unfair treatment or bad management never see the light of day to the best of their ability. So, what's the pattern here? In the span of a year, a major corporation across four cornerstones industries like tech, retail, and manufacturing, and media all arrived at the same conclusion. The public reasons were different: AI, streamlining, EV demand, market pressures. But the result was identical: a massive transfer of security away from working families and towards corporate bottom line. But for thousands of people suddenly out of a job, pressured into silence, it feels like a betrayal, and it was only half of the story. Michael says, we already placed them. As pink slips were being handed out in corporate America, a different kind of storm was raging in the political arenas. And before we go any further on that, I want you guys to note, anybody who's ever been quote unquote fired from their job, we have never seen a pink slip. And even though we know that legally they're supposed to give us our money within 72 hours of us being terminated, the legal process to sue them to get our money takes longer than it does for us to wait until our next payday. So they fire us in the middle of the work week at the end of the billing cycle, and then we just got to wait 9 days to get our last paycheck. Before we can find a lawyer to take the case, we've got direct deposit from the job. Before we can file a complaint with labor board, they've given us direct deposit. But that 9 day delay was a screw you because you don't work here anymore. Instead of them giving you your money today and sending you home today with your last paycheck, they're going to make you wait for it like everybody else. They shouldn't. But throughout 2025, the debate over immigration became more intense and divisive than ever before. It wasn't just background noise, it was a political strategy that has real world consequences, and its timing couldn't have been more noticeable. He says, we'll mail you your check. I had somebody tell me that before. We'll mail you your check. Nah, that's all right. I can take it out your safe. I have had a couple of jobs before I started running my own businesses where they did not want to give me and some people that I knew our paychecks. And we went in there and we got those paychecks. We walked out paid and we didn't get blacklisted either. Matter of fact, I think it was a year or two later, we went back to those same companies and filled in some gaps. I actually, back before the internet, so those of y'all who were born after the internet, y'all know I'm old, but back before the internet, I used to be able to walk on to a job that I have worked at before that is under new management who doesn't know me from Adam. And I could utilize the service and then tell that manager how to do their job better than they're doing their job. And they will offer me a job because I'm a paying customer and I know more about the company than the person trying to sell me the service. So if I was looking for a job, I would just go back to where I was once working and just secret shop they ass and get another job. I did not need an interview phase. I did not need the background check. I didn't have to put nothing up on Indeed and wait 90 days for them to get back at me. I could just show up before 2 o'clock when I know the manager is there and give them a 30-second. This is how you should have done it. And they'd be like, why don't you clock in and start working? Let's see if your old PIN number still works. That's way back in the day. These days, whew, you get fired these days, you get fired. You get fired from every chain in the company. They will know in California that you got fired in Georgia and what you got fired for. The public disclosure was dominated by hardline rhetorics when they were getting rid of all of these immigrants, and the focus shifted to interior enforcements with loud calls for crackdowns in cities and towns far more further away from the border than you could ever imagine. Like right now, they're even talking about doing what they did in Chicago and Memphis, doing that in Louisiana. Now, you and I already know that we got it bad enough in Louisiana with local law enforcement behaving the way they behave. You were about to release the military into Louisiana after what y'all did to Louisiana and Katrina. What? What? All I know is that whatever state I'm in, they bet not come my way with that drama. I will not be able to re-air my podcast because the things that I'm going to do are not sanctioned under any of the executive orders. Leave me alone. I got my star on my ID. You better go talk to the person sitting next to me as I reload. Sometimes getting fired is the best thing that can happen to you. Motivation. Well, a lot of times if you hate your job, you're not getting a raise, you're not getting a promotion, you have crappy hours, you're working swing shifts, you're always on call, but you're not making overtime, you need more money. Getting fired off the job might be the wake up call that you need to help you get your shit together and find you a better job. But a lot of the times, knowing that you have a shitty job, you do not put the method together to try to fix the fact that you work at a shitty job and you do not have your own exit strategy. You are not trying to prepare for what if I want to quit. So you definitely are not prepared for what if they fire my ass. Now, with them doing what they're doing across the border, this type of rhetoric isn't just policies, it's designed to create a spectacle and an atmosphere of fear. It sends a message to immigrant communities across the country that they are not safe and could be targeted at any moment. This aggressive political posture was often justified with claims about public safety, spokesmen that often talked about removing threats and enforcing the rules of law. I mean, we talked about this a little bit last night, where, getting rid of the illegals, but then we also talked about last night how those of us that discussed it wasn't expecting what we got going on right now. We even touched base on the fact that the protesters that are out there irresponsibly protesting, antagonizing the already traumatized soldiers and police officers and ISIS agents, and where they're acting irrational because their job is to go out there and regulate in front of a mob of people that looks like the onset of a zombie apocalypse, and they don't have enough ammunition to take down the whole mob if it was to escalate to that type of scenario. But the dynamic is that they are in a position where they're supposed to get a select few, and they're not doing it correctly. But it is done in a way to put fear in those people who have not voluntarily left or voluntarily started signing up for the regular process. However, critics and civil rights advocates constantly point out a different reality. The majority of undocumented immigrants are not dangerous criminals being in the country without authorization in a civil infraction. Uh, it is an administrative error, not like a felony. It is, and I used this example yesterday. It's equivalent to not having your firearm registered, or not having your car insurance, not having your registration done on your car, stuff to that effect. It is an administrative error. Now, yes, entering the country is supposed to be a capital crime against the country, right? Entering the country without legal authorization is supposed to be allegedly considered a capital crime, right? But the response to that is, after the fact, get registered. You get pulled over for driving with no registration and no insurance, they're going to tow your car. After they give you that first warning, they're going to suspend your license and give you a warning. And then after that, they're going to tow your car and put you in jail because you drove with knowledge without the proper paperwork. You don't have your firearm properly registered. Back when having your firearm properly registered was a thing, they might arrest you for it. And then the judge release you with your stuff and say, get your paperwork together. But it does not mean that you should get deported for it. You're not the drug cartel. You're not gun trafficking. This is your property, you know? So when we start thinking about people who came over to America and they got jobs, they're living their best life, but they never registered, and they're afraid to now because they've been here too long. They're afraid to now. They're afraid to tell them, hey, I've been here for like 10 years, but I want to get my paperwork together, you know? So we have to understand that the political language often paints a picture of a dangerous invasion, blurring the lines and stoking public fear, where people believe that all these people are here, they're just, you know, the rapists and murderers. And that's what we were listening to the information yesterday. And he's right. There are people that did come that have a negative criminal history, because everybody who was anybody could cross the border. But we also have to recognize that not all of them fit that description. There are some that are domestic violence survivors that came across the border with their kids and trying to start a new life. There are some that are running from a life of crime so that they don't have to continue committing those crimes. But that does not mean that they don't deserve a right for a second chance. They just have to figure out how to do it the right way. But the real goal of this kind of rhetoric is often political. It's designed to create a uh, pervasive climate of fear that serves several purposes. Because when you hear stories about aggressive enforcement, the message isn't just for the people directly affected, it's for their entire community. And it tells every immigrant, documented or not, that their life can be turned upside down in an instant. We were talking about the Americans that were getting caught up in the sweeps yesterday. Their lives were turned upside down in an instant. And this fear has devastating effects. It can stop people from reporting crimes, seeking medical help, or participating in their communities. So, where neighborhood watches would have worked, where we would report for other people's safety, we would go out there and proactively help other people's scenarios so that they can be safe. Now, these days, with the way the certain people are acting, you can see a cop being jumped by a bunch of people, and instead of going in there and helping the cop, you just turn around and walk away because it's safer that way. It drives people into the shadows, making them more vulnerable to exploitation and weakness. The social fabric of our neighborhoods become heavily damaged because of this. So let's take a step back and look at the situation, because throughout 2025, and especially in the fall, corporations were shedding workers, citing economic pressures. And at that exact time, the political world was consumed by an incredible, fierce, and polarizing debate over that immigration. Now, the media often reported these as two separate stories, but one for the business section and the other for the political pages. But is it a coincidence or not? Or are these two trends feeding off each other in a way that's hurting ordinary Americans? Yes, this is Timu's Morpheus. If you click my Timu link and go get you some Timu stuff, because I get stuff from Timu, like this nifty holster and this nifty pistol in the nifty holster that has the nifty tack light that came from Timu, with the nifty compensator from Timu, with the nifty mag clip from Timu, with the nifty headset from Timu, with the nifty webcam from Timu. Special shout out to Timu. I appreciate you, Nicholas. Yes, yes. Almost everything you can find at Amazon, you can find at Temu for a quarter of the price. Now, you are told to think it's just political and it's just business, but when you connect the dots, the picture that emerges is not one of coincidence, but of converging pressures creating a crisis for American workers. Now, if you're still watching that, it means that you are starting to see how these pieces might fit together. And it means that you're willing to ask questions that most of the media isn't willing to ask. If you're finding this analysis valuable to you, do me a quick favor, mash those reaction buttons, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching us from Twitter or Twitch, hit that follow button, and then go and turn on those notifications for the channel. We are about to get to the heart of the matter, and you won't want to miss it. He said, Room 40 has better pieces than Timu. You could say that Alibaba's got better pieces from Timu, but Room 40 has stuff that falls apart. Show me the stuff. Matter of fact, he got a shirt from Timu, had the pants from Timu, the dog came from Timu. No, I'm kidding. The dog didn't come from Timu. The dog came to get on my nerves. That's where the dog came from. um, where were we? We were talking about. Ew, that wasn't it. We were discovering. Dang, wasn't expecting that. Hold on, y'all. I was looking at some statistics over here, and I had to. I wanted to make sure that I had all the information for you guys about it because we were just about to talk about. I told you guys I was going to give you guys the information, the details to cover the severance packages and stuff to that effect. And I was about to pull up all of the severance packages, and then I was like, wait, where did it go? So hold on a second. First, we're going to bring this together, and then I'm going to start explaining to you guys the information about the severance packages because we do have some time. I want to make sure that I provide you guys with some learning knowledge, some tools that you guys can take with you. Um, we're going to move beyond the separate headlines. We're going to see the hidden architecture of the pressures shaping your life. Now, we have two major forces at work. We have a corporate push to reduce labor costs and the political firestorm over immigration. Now, on the surface, since they seem unrelated, but when you dig deeper, you find that the two are powerful currents flowing into the same river. And that river is that erosion of economic security for the American middle class, hardworking person. So let's start by looking at the official story. Wait, whoa, we already covered. We already covered the corporations, tech, reality, retail, beyond normal understandings, and the use of specific vocabularies. And we talked about restructuring, efficiency, and AI adoptions. Now, these are sterile, bloodless words that hide the brutal reality, and they frame layoffs as unfortunate but necessary responses to the market. And that's a narrative of progress, right? Now, hold on a second. One of the most powerful results of these parallel trends is the creation of the scapegoat. Now, history shows a clear pattern. When economic anxiety is high, finding a group to blame is a powerful tool for social controls. So that late 2025, economic anxiety was clearly on the rise, even for the big layoff announcements. Because when those layoff announcements happened in the fall, nearly half of America reported having more trouble affording basic necessities and worried about job markets uh, and wondering whether or not those job markets would grow. And people were scared about their futures. And a lot of people stopped spending a lot of money in a lot of places, which gave the green light to trigger all of the other onsets. Now, into this climate of fear inserts a theory debate over that immigration thing. And that's where we started talking about um, the difference between the emotional charge target for all of the free floating economic anxiety and the classic diversion. While CEOs quietly laid off thousands to boost stock prices, the national conversation is steered towards the supposed threat posed by the immigrant families. And it's a brilliant slate of hand because the public anger, which could be directed at corporate decisions that are making their jobs less secure is instead redirected towards vulnerable populations of individuals. So the immigrants are being blamed for the loss of jobs instead of recognizing that big business is firing you to save their bottom dollar, not because they're hiring more Mexicans. But the connection goes deeper because it's about fundamentally reshaping the labor market to drive down costs. So think of it as a pincer movement against the American worker. From one side, you have the threat of the layoffs, and the message from corporations is clear that you are replaceable. This creates a culture of fear in the workplace. People become less likely to ask for raises or better benefits. They're just grateful to still have a job. And this puts a downward pressure on wages for everyone. From the other side, you have that intense immigration, and that creates a shadow of the workforce that is terrifying. So immigration workers become even more vulnerable to exploitation for less likely to report wage theft or unsafe working conditions for fear of drawing attention to themselves for being undocumented. And this creates an underclass of labor that can be payless and threatened worse. Where we had a situation where some rich individuals had hired some undocumented individuals to do some work and then got them deported after the work was done. Do you see how these two forces could potentially work together? The existence of a hyper exploitable workforce puts downward pressure on wages in sectors like construction and services. Meanwhile, the constant threat of white collar layoffs and AI replacement does the same thing in the corporate world. It's a race to the bottom, and the main beneficiaries are the companies that can suppress the labor costs across the board. It weakens the power of all the workers because if you complain, there might be a cheaper person or a robot waiting to take your place. This isn't a conspiracy, it's a convergence of interests. It's the interest of some corporations to downsize the maximum profits. And it is in the interest of some politicians to use divisive rhetoric to energize their base. And the result is the perfect storm of whether or not these two agendas can merge to create a more devastating outcome for the average American, a future of permanent economic insecurity. So, where does this leave us? Well, the real world consequences of this perfect storm is a new and treacherous economic reality, one defined by widespread insecurities, eroding trust, and deep social divides. The most immediate impact is seen in the sense of job insecurity that now touches almost everyone. The promise that a good education and loyalty to a company would guarantee a stable career is now broken. The layoffs in 2025 hit a professional clash uh, of hardships, sending a clear message that no one is safe, no matter how good the job is. If you're still employed, you're likely looking over your shoulder, less willing to take risks or push for better conditions. And the anxiety is real. Worries about jobs in 2025, that level of security has saw a noticeable spike, with many Americans expecting the job market to get worse. And for immigration immigrant communities, the situation is even more difficult, and they face a double jeopardy, and they are often working in sectors that hit hard by layoffs. But on top of that, they live with the constant fear of being taken advantage of by the political climate. The dual threat makes it nearly impossible to plan for the future or to trust in the system. And the aggressive political rhetoric disrupts local economies and breeds a deep seated mistrust that will take generations to heal. But it's a huge mistake to think that it is only affecting immigrants because the us versus them narrative is the first lie that we have to recognize that is being pushed by these agendas. The forces making immigrant workers more precarious are related to the forces that are making your job more precarious. When a company can get away with exploiting one group of workers, it lowers the bar for everyone else. The business model that relies on underpaying a worker in a warehouse is run by the same executive designing the AI that could eliminate a corporate job. It all stems from the same philosophy. Labor is a cost to be minimized, not a partner to be valued. And the broader implication is the erosion of our social contract, trust in our basic institutions is falling, and trust in corporations plummet when they show their only loyalty is to their shareholders. Trust in the government erodes when people feel it's creating division instead of providing stability. Truth and enlightenment. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Hart. When people feel the system is rigged, they lose faith. This is the climate where now one of the most economic, uh, unstable, and socially divided uh, situations we've been in a very long time, where we are encouraged to blame our neighbors, the person next to us, for problems created in the distant boardrooms and political backrooms. He said, Ace Truth. Thank you very much, Ace Truth. Uh, and this is our new economic reality. It is not a temporary downturn, it is a structural shift towards the economy where the risks are pushed onto the workers while profits are funneled to a tiny group of elite individuals. The layoffs are the political division of the 2025 era that didn't cause this shift to begin with, but they were massively accelerating it. And there were signals of what was to come, but we didn't think about that in the beginning. Now, since we're dealing with these corporate shifts, now we're going to go ahead and grab you some information about, because I wanted to make sure that I tell you guys uh, about the massive layoffs, about the severance package. What you need to remember, you need to be able to make sure that you keep track of these things while you're working for the company so that when something like this comes up, you have the ability to navigate it. And we're going to be talking about that real quick. You have NDAs when you get on the job. Sometimes when you first get hired, you have these NDAs. And when the NDAs is a non-disclosure agreement uh, that tells you that you are not allowed to say anything about the company. Uh, However, and if you sign that contract, you can't talk about anything. You can't talk about how they hired you, what they made you do. You can say that the job was hard, but you can't say anything negative about the job. The job sucked or anything to that effect because that would be a breach of contract. You can't tell them how they screwed you over when they laid you off. But if you wanted to improve the outcome of your termination during these massive layoffs, if you focus on negotiating the best possible severance package and the maximum post layoff benefits, uh, many tech companies can offer 14 to 16 weeks of base salary, extra pay for tenure if you got terminated and you had tenure, and several months of health insurance. So it's reasonable to use these benchmarks in negotiations. And this is one of the things that I wanted you guys to note when we was talking about you guys getting fired off of these jobs in these tech companies. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take time before you're on that chopping block and you want to review and document all details from your termination meetings, including the severance terms and the benefits offers. You don't want to agree to anything that day. Approach the negotiation professionally, not pissed off because you know that you're about to use your job. Framing your request as fair and beneficial, not just, oh, the least that you can do kind of situation. It needs to be beneficial to both you and for them. For example, offer assistance in transition, or agree to a non disparagement clause for improved severance terms, meaning I won't say anything negative about this company if you give me a better exit. I'm not signing a non-disclosure agreement if you're going to uh, throw me out on the street with nothing. I'm not going to say nothing good about you if you throw me out on the street with pennies. But if you give me a decent, hefty quantity of money that will sustain my position, and it has to be within reason. Even though you and I both know that you're treating me like the pawn shop basement right now on Pulp Fiction, I can make it seem like your company was the best thing since Disney World if you give me the right exit plan. You have to look at reason. Identify negotiable items beyond salary. It's not just about the pay. You're looking at extended health insurance, especially if they're paying a portion of it or if they're paying all of it. Career support, which helps you with getting to another job. Job search assistance, where they will put a positive reference out for you, even though they are terminating you. They can make it seem like your department wasn't in their budget, but you were an excellent worker, even if they don't like you and they fired you first because your department wasn't in their budget. You have payment for unused vacations or bonuses that was supposed to be issued that you haven't gotten yet, stock options that you had in your name while you're involved in the company, sick days and PTO time that you did not get to burn. All of that can be included in the severance package. You want to practice best negotiating practices by preparing counter offers. You really should be, and this is what you should be doing long before you get fired. You should be looking at, if my job fired me today, what would I qualify for? What would I want to get? If I currently am looking for like 6 months worth of health insurance, because 16 weeks, how long is that's 4 months? 16 weeks is 4 months. If you wanted 4 months worth of health insurance, that's what the market offers. If you wanted like 6 months worth of health insurance um with that non-disparagement clause. You're getting a couple of extra months of free health insurance covered by the company. You wanted that. You know how many days you got, like 2 weeks worth of sick days. You've got like a month worth of PTO that you haven't used because you've been working for the company for so long. So you've got about 8 weeks worth of paid time off that you could get that you have not utilized. Which irony is that if they were going to bring you in for termination, you technically, before that conversation or during that conversation, you could elect to burn all of your sick days, PTO days, and vacation days for all the paid time off that was entitled to you as you negotiate your severance package, which might give you 3 4 weeks, not 3 4 months, 3 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks worth of time off, to paid time off to negotiate your severance package. You can work it in, you can see what they say about it, but work on your counter offers. And as you note the market, note your experiences, note note your potential, and you're asking for a little bit more because of the non disparagement. Start practicing preparing your counter offer for any type of termination. Then when they start talking to you about that severance package, you have a negotiation that you can have on a table. They're going to turn down the first offer, but don't be discouraged. You're negotiating, which is why you want to overshoot what you believe they might offer you. They're going to offer you far less than what you would ever imagine, but you're going to overshoot what you believe they might offer as your first offer. They're going to come up a little bit, you're going to come down a little bit, and y'all are going to meet somewhere in the middle. You want to make sure that you consult an employment lawyer to clarify severance terms and ensure that your rights are protected. And then you want to remain composed and respectful, which can encourage better outcomes and professional references. Because if you cursing them out and you're going to flip the desk and uh, you're going to curse everybody out and stuff to that effect, the only thing you're going to get out of that is they're going to um, Fire you, have you escorted out, probably get you arrested, and blacklist you because they're going to tell every other company that you would qualify for that you are a dangerous person to hire. When you're looking at preparing those strong counteroffers during severance negotiations, you want to start by gathering the detailed evidence of your contributions throughout the life of your company. All of your accomplishments, all of your awards, the budget increase, the profit margins that they have made off of your uh, employment there, and any tenure information that you have at that company. Then you want to reference your years of service and highlight specific achievements or projects that demonstrated your impact using concrete metrics whenever possible. Now, I understand if they're going to counter argue you with every reprimandation that has happened, with every time you had to go down to HR, every complaint that was made against you, because they're going to try to stack the deck against you. That's the goal. You want to make sure that you review whatever contract that they're offering you. Read it 3 times, 2 times more than Santa. You want to review it multiple times and compare their initial severance offer to the industry standard for similar roles as the one that you have. And your counter offer should be slightly better than the standard offer anyway for the length of service that you have served. Then you want to organize proof of your value to the company, especially if you have positive performance reviews, successful projects, cost savings initiatives, client wins, or leadership roles. Then you want to decide which benefits and terms are critical because extending that healthcare is good for you. Increased pay on your way out, outplacement support, or positive recommendations because outplacement support could be um, them putting out a good word for you, them referring you to a company, even though they are terminating you, they refer you to another company and then provide you with a good review. These outplacement supports can help you transition into another job before the money from your severance package runs out. Some negotiation language and framing that you need to use. You want to request anything that you're requesting as a win-win. It's a benefit for them and a benefit for you, such as offering to help with transition duties in exchange for improvement. Transition duties would mean that on your way out the door, you're training your replacement. Knowing that you're going to get fired, you're still going to teach this guy to be better than what you were. You want to use clear professional language. Uh, give my tenure a contribution and contributions. I would like to discuss adjustments to better reflect my value to the organization. Or a statement like, I believe an extension of benefits or a higher pay would be fair given my performance and service history. Things to that effect. You want to maintain professionalism and request all agreed changes to be documented in writing prior to signing the document. And you want to read that document 3 or 4 times. If you follow these types of practices, especially if you're doing it early, you will be able to present a more compelling argument. Evidence-based counter offers that demonstrates your value and supports negotiations for a better uh, severance package helps you with your ability to succeed on your way out the door. So if they were only going to give you 2 or 3 days off, or they were only going to give you like the next month or whatever, and you could talk your way into like 5 months or 6 months of paid time off with 5 or 6 months of benefits because they're going to include all of your PTO time, all your sick days, all of your vacation days, and even whatever bonuses that you potentially qualify for. That actually gives you a larger blanket of time to go and find you another job. It gives you a blanket of time to go on vacation too, but it gives you a blanket of time to find you a better job. And that way you can hit the ground running. Because if you're able to find a job inside of 60 days or 90 days and you had a 5 month severance package, you can transition directly into the new insurance from the old insurance so that your medical treatment isn't interrupted. There's a lot of things that benefits with this. If you're the kind of exec that has company cars, company phones, company housing, that is part of the um, the offset support, because if they're putting you out of your house, they need to help you find another house. If they're taking your car, they need to redirect you towards the capabilities of getting a new transportation. They're taking your phone. You see what I'm saying? Like, help you not hit rock bottom, since they're just kicking you out to save their bottom dollar. The ability to negotiate this helps you walk out. And because these terms are preventing you from hitting the ground hard, you will in turn not devalue them in the company. But if you don't come to an assentence, then whatever termination that you experience is going to come with whatever they're legally obligated to give you, the bare minimum, and then you're going to devalue them in the public media. So we have to come to an agreement that I am satisfied with, to prevent me from telling the world the truth about what's going on. So if you find that you caught yourself in a storm to this magnitude, what do you do? Understanding the system is the first step, but taking action is how you protect yourself. Now, we're going to give you a few more critical moves during an immediate layoff if you haven't already prepared yourselves. The moment that you are laid off, you first thing that you want to do, the day that you hear that you might be getting fired, apply for unemployment insurance. Don't wait. Also, look into any state or federal support programs available to you based on your current situation. This is your financial lifeline. Given that the you're about to have instability, you need to plan your next steps without panicking. So you need to be able to set these things up in the beginning. Second, as I discussed with you about reviewing your severance package and your health coverages, you want to read those packages with a fine tooth comb. You want to make sure that you know everything that's going on. And remember, don't be afraid to negotiate for better terms if you can. Immediately investigate your health insurance options, because whether it's Cobra or a plan from the marketplace, a gap in health coverage can lead to a financial catastrophe. So make this a top priority to, as quickly as possible, switch your medical treatment to a different insurance plan. The third thing you want to do is reassess your finances and build a layoff budget equivalent to the pandemic layoff budget. It's time to become your own CEO. You want to create a clear financial plan based on how long you think your job search might take, and then factor in severances, savings, unemployment benefits. Be ruthless about cutting non essentials and expenses to make your resources last as long as possible. But when you're doing this calculation, you want to overstate the potential opportunity to get that job. You might think that you can get a job instead of 3 months. Set yourself 6 to 9 months. If you can hold it down, you don't have to pressure yourself into taking just about anything. The fourth thing you want to do, upskill and rebrand yourself. Use the time that you're not working as a strategic advantage. You want to update your resume and LinkedIn profile to reflect your most valuable skills. Look for free or subsidized training programs and certifications that align with what employers in your industry are looking for right now. This isn't just about looking busy, it's about making yourself more valuable on the other side of this. Then the next thing you want to do, the fifth and final one, is you want to activate your network. Start hunting. Let everybody that you know in your squad that has knowledge towards the type of job that you did, that you need help looking for another job. Don't wait to feel ready. Reach out to former colleagues that you used to work with, friends that have knowledge in this type of field, family. Immediately let everybody know that you're looking for a new job. Shit didn't go the way you wanted it to go when you're looking for a new job. Dive into those job searches, looking for both advertised roles and hidden opportunities. Don't be too proud to consider temp work or side gigs to bring cash in and keep your skills sharp until you can find a better job. You might turn that temp work and side gigs into a permanent job. If you're doing enough temp work, you might end up just being a temp by profession and build an LLC off of your own ability to do this work for yourself, building up a clientele, taking these steps to proactively uh, readjust the downfall is how you safeguard your financial health and accelerate your path to a new opportunity. So, look, the point of this isn't to leave you feeling hopeless, it's to leave you feeling aware. Because the first step to changing a system is understanding how it really works. The official stories are designed to confuse and distract you, but you are not powerless. This conversation needs to happen out in the open. You need to be able to talk to your family and friends about it. So I'm asking you to do two things. First thing I want you to do is I want you to share videos like this with your friends and family and people that you know that might need it. They need to see the bigger picture. We have to break through the noise. Second, and more importantly, use the comment section below because what are you seeing when you hear this topic is experiences in your job and in other people's jobs in your community that negatively impact the average person. Because think about it, have you or someone you've known been affected by an unexpected layoff? We're not talking about getting fired for sexual harassment on the job or stealing money out the safe or coming in too late too many days. We're talking about like you were a damn good worker, you didn't do nothing wrong, and like Craig from Friday, you got fired on your day off for stealing boxes. You don't know what the hell happened. You just don't got a job no more. And they're apologizing for letting you go, but they're not firing you for being a bad worker, right? You got to be able to put this stuff into the comment section. Your stories aren't just anecdotes, they are the human truth that exposes the corporate speak and political spins that makes this space a reciprocity of the truth. And of course, if you guys want to continue understanding the powerful forces shaping our world, you want to make sure that if you haven't already done so, that you subscribe and activate those notification buttons. Turn on those notification buttons and utilize them for the show because we are not done digging. We are going to grab a lot more information for you guys and follow up on a lot of these things going forward into the future. So let's bring it all back. Was it a coincidence that mass layoffs and toxic political debates over immigration peaked at the same time in the late 2025 year? I don't think so. It was a convergence of corporate interests and a cynical political position that resulted in a full scale assault on the economic security of the average American. They are not separate issues. They are two prongs of the same problem, and one creates economic desperation. The other provides a scapegoat for that desperation, and both work together to create a workforce that is cheaper and more compliant and more divided than ever before. Because while everybody's pissed off at the Mexicans for taking their jobs, nobody's pissed off at the robots for taking their jobs. But Amazon replaced over 200,000 workers with machines and Mexicans didn't make the machines. It's a system that benefits the powerful by pitting everyone else against each other. United we stand, divided we fall. So, in order to make sure that we never stand together, they always find a way to diversify us by race, by gender, by social economic class, by nationality, by religion. If there's so many divisions, political background, political beliefs, once with there's so many divisions, no two people can come together and find the same third person to unite or rally on anything. They want us divided. They want us afraid because since we are divided, 100,000 of us can be standing around watching 20 people beat up one person and nobody intervened. But if we were united and we all agreed that those 20 people were wrong for what they were doing, soon as they ambushed the one person, 100,000 of us would have ambushed that 20 people and turned the tides and saved the one person. But they also want us to blame an immigrant for the job that was eliminated by a C-suite decision where you weren't fired and now the company is Latin American or just Hispanic. They fired you and no one is in that position now. They want us to see each other as competitors, not as allies with common interests. And the only way to push back is by seeing the game for what it is. It's recognizing that the fight for a fair wage in an office is connected to the fight for human rights in the communities. Because you got to understand, fair wage is going to be the average of what people are willing to work for versus what they're legally obligated to pay. If you're willing to do more for less money because you're afraid to ask for more money because of the increased work that you're doing, the standard is that everybody gets paid this amount of money for this amount of work. But if you really recognize that you're doing more work than your current salary, it is your requirement to get that raise or that promotion or reduce your workload to match the salary and start working on your exit strategy. Big business cannot manipulate you and control you into living a less than satisfactory lifestyle simply because you're afraid to speak up about how much you deserve. We have to recognize that this is an understanding that economic justice and social justice aren't separate struggles a lot of the times. They are two sides of the same coin. And they have told you their stories, the story of efficiency, of enforcement. But that's just them saying that they're keeping more money in their pocket because they're not reducing the labor pool and increasing your salary after the fact. They didn't fire 150,000 people and raised you by $10 an hour wage. They just fired the crew, which increases your workload. You can't ask for a raise because you don't want to get fired too, but you're doing twice as much work, if not more, for the same quantity of pay. Now you know what they aren't telling you. You know the real story. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? Now, tonight's show had a lot of twists and turns, and I'm glad that you guys was able to hang out with us and go through a lot of it. Again, tomorrow we're going to be talking to you guys a lot about the dividend rotation strategy, and I found a lot of information about how Donald Trump's cryptocurrency crashed. So we're going to get some details about it, and we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency next week, Tuesday. So note to self to keep in touch with us because we're going to get all the scoop and the skinny, all the dirt and the details. We're going to be talking about that throughout the week. Now, before we go, I want to make sure that I say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, I give you guys this information to help you guys become higher value men. So if you can find a way to proactively impact the things that directly impact your life, you can make change. You make the change in your personal life as well as in your business life. And ladies, this information is not exclusive to the men. While this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, you ladies can take this information and utilize it to make yourselves higher value women as well. And then if you find a partner with the same mentality, you can match with somebody that you can collaborate with and work towards a unified success. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.